everyone, welcome to part 2 of the ride speculation video. In part 1 we're looking at the High Street, Starport, the Jungle and the Isles, and in this video we're going to be looking at the Kingdom, the Woods and the Studio.
Any help that you can give in terms of subscribing, liking the video, sharing your comments with us on our speculation would be very much appreciated.
Yeah, that was pretty solid, I thought. Okay, so the first land we're going to look at here is the Kingdom, and on the London Resort website, they describe this themed land as an immersive realm of swords, sorcery, dragons, and legend. This is England as a dark and ancient land, a place of threatening and imposing castles and mystical Arthurian legends.
As you emerge out, you see this, amazing castle, similar to how you do when you come into the Disney parks, and it's a really good idea for a centerpiece of the park. It's a bit of a rip-off, let's face it, but but what I like about it is that they've taken it a bit of a step further by putting this coaster, or the idea of putting a coaster around the castle itself, which I think is really cool. So what sort of ride do you think this could be that goes in and out of this castle?
Well, I think on the concept map, it looks to me like it's going to be a wooden coaster. When you think medieval themes and like Arthur, like all the Kingdom, you do sort of think a wooden coaster would be well associated with that.
I think that's a really good point, and I think what the owners of this park probably have noticed is the amazing reception that this coaster here, Wicker Man Alton Towers, received.
We don't have many wooden coasters here. There's also obviously Blackpool as well. They've got the old school wooden coasters. And then you just got Megaphobia, and then you got Wicker Man. And as you say, it was very well received by the public.
Yeah, I mean, you say that there's those coasters in Blackpool, but to be honest, I don't really see them as rides. I see them more as wooden sort of arse torturing devices. So it'll be nice to get another modern wooden coaster that's a bit smoother. And actually, one way that this could be, this ducking and diving out of the structure could be achieved is potentially using a hybrid track, which allows you to obviously make tighter transitions. So anyone that's on the coaster scene will know Rocky Mountain Construction, otherwise known as RMC, are huge at the moment, and everyone's going on about bringing one of these amazing coasters to the UK. So we've had a distinct pleasure and privilege of riding the only 2 RMCs outside of North America. One of them is this ride here, which is Untamed, or as they say in Holland, Unchained, at Walibi, Holland.
They can just do anything they can really with it. They can do a lot of banked turns, very steep drops. And I think what else makes it thrilling is like you go sort of when you're upside down, for example, you're also like you've got all the wooden structure underneath you, and it's just an amazing like roller coaster experience. It's one of the best out there, and it'll be great if the London Resort got this.
Going back to the schematic map of the Kingdom, we can see here is the area where that big wooden coaster that we were talking about sits in that castle. Here we can see a little pendulum sort of style thing. Going back to the concept art just very briefly, we can see in the background here the ride that we were just talking about, and it looks to be one of the gyro swing models, similar to Loki at Liseberg. You
can sort of see it being almost themed to like a catapult ride, or what are they called? Trebuchets. That's it. That were used in medieval times. So looking back on the park map of the Kingdom, we have a little roller coaster in the back here.
Because I feel like although it's a big park, it does seem like a lot of the rides are more focused at being inside and maybe in a bit of a smaller layout. I think we will see quite a lot of launched rides at this park. So one ride that I've seen that's been sort of recently in the Hollywood Studios park at Disney World that I really like the look of is Slinky Dog Dash, and it just looks like a lot of fun. It would be a really, really great introduction for the younger riders into the world of launch coasters. This ride basically has, you can see here on the photo, these like archway things. So that's where you're launch up to about 30 miles an hour. It's not incredibly fast or massive acceleration, but it still looks really fun through there. And then you go through a sort of winding course, and there's a second launch, and yeah, it just looks like really good fun, and one that all the family can enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, there's many different sort of family ride models out there. The other one is a Max spinning coaster, which also has onboard audio as well. There's not actually many of these at the moment, I think, in the world, but there's actually one being built at the moment in the UK at Paulton's Park, which is planning to open next year. And yeah, I mean, if we got something like this at the London Resort, I think it would be very suited to the family market.
I don't know about this spinning concept, how that could fit into a medieval. What do you think?
You could have, oh man, no clue. Probably something like, Merlin Old is doing that with his wand, and you're like spinning around in the stars,
Okay.
I think that'd be great. Imagine the onboard audio as well, and you have like very magical themed music going on.
Going back to the park map, we can see up here in the top sort of right-hand corner of the land, there's what looks to be a log flume of sorts. This would just be great to see, because I think since Loggers Leap, RIP, got taken out of Thorpe Park, there isn't really a very good log flume in the country. I
mean, you've still got Tiger Rock at Chessington, but that is really about it. I don't think there's many other log flumes here in the UK. I mean, Paultons have a small one, but that's about it. But also, there are manufacturers out there that are sort of reinventing the wheel a little bit with these log flumes.
Yeah, I mean, there's a way to make these rides more thrilling than just like a little mini drop and then a big drop. And I think one really good example of that is the Chiapas flume at Phantasialand, which we'll take a look at now.
This ride itself has a switch track. It has a sort of reverse elements where you're going backwards, and then you go backwards into a drop, and then suddenly you're on the switch track, and then you're going forward. And also, even like the thrilling parts of the ride, like the drop, they are sort of doing it's almost like a roller coaster sort of element. Like they have the drop, and then it goes over this sort of I'm going to call it a bunny hop, and into the splashdown. And it's just they're just great thrilling rides that sort of cater for both the family and thrill market. So I think it's a perfect sort of ride for the London Resort. Okay, so the next theme land we're going to look at here is called the Woods, and the London Resort described this land as an enchanted realm where springtime reigns eternal and the boundary between reality and fantasy dissolves. Here, the young and young at heart will be invited to step through the pages of a storybook and embark on adventures that put a fresh spin on beloved bedtime stories, fables, and fairy tales.
For me, I think the best sort of kids land or like young adults land that I've ever been to is Hogsmeade in Universal Studios Islands of Adventure. So here we can see the Hogwarts Castle. In it, there's just the best dark ride that I've ever been on. I won't spoil it too much, but basically you go on a vehicle that takes you around a sort of flight on the broomstick around the castle, and you're moving, and then there's like a screen, and it kind of feels like you're in a 3D world, but you're not wearing any 3D glasses, and they intermix like the 3D screen with real like objects, a bit like in a traditional ghost train. Do you have any other thoughts of any other young person's rides that you would like to see in here, Steve?
The one ride I sort of think of when I think is Arthur at Europa Park, which is manufactured by Mack, and is kind of a powered suspended roller coaster. Yeah, so basically, as you're going through the building, the vehicle turns itself, and you kind of look at different little shows as well. They do sort of little shows as you go around the ride, and at the end, it sort of goes outside the building, and it's almost like a little sort of roller coaster that sort of goes around sort of the outside of where the trees are and things like that, and it's amazing. Yeah, really good family attraction.
Okay, so now moving on to the final land that we're covering in this two-part epic, where we've covered all of the all of the 7 theme lands that are coming to London Resort. So let's see what they say on the London Resort website about the studios. Visitors can start their journey in the studios, a gritty modern-day warehouse district that practically roars with the exhilarating thrills of big blockbuster features. A winning combination of explosive action, high-octane car chases, and high-stakes espionage. Interesting. So this is going to be another part of the park, which is going to be hopefully where a lot of thrill rides are based. And from the looks of the map here, we can see a couple of coasters. We can see what looks like to be a water ride here, and a lot of show buildings, which kind of leads us to think that this will be the area where we see a lot of the sort of indoor dark rides, a bit similar to the Universal Studios parks.
If Nick zooms in, you can see sort of logos. So something we've noticed is you've got the Top Gun logo here. So that sort of just gives away that there's going to be a lot of the film-based rides here. I mean, also you can see on the right you've got what looks like a jet and a rocket ship, and also Thunderbirds has been mentioned and rumoured in concept art.
Let's take a look first at this coaster, which is, kind of emerging out of this building in very poorly drawn fashion. I mean, when I first saw it, maybe it's like the sort of garish colours, the little loop, but the first thing that I thought of was the Incredicoaster at Disneyland, California. It's only got the one inversion, this loop that you can see the train completing now. But it has a couple of launches, so this is like an electromagnetic launch that launches the train up. It goes around a bit of a circuit, and then launches up this hill as well later on in the ride. The sort of second part of the track turns into a sort of a more what you'd expect maybe from one of their sort of mega coasters. Lots of like little bunny hops and sort of quick turns, and yeah, I think this is just what first sprang to mind when I saw that coaster coming out of the building. It's something that will satisfy the more intrepid thrill seeker. The next roller coaster, the last one that we can visibly see on the concept art, it looks to me very similar to the Italian Job, which is a series of coasters that were built at the Paramount parks in the noughties. What do you think, Steve?
I definitely agree, and there's a link there with the fact that they're Paramount parks. Looks like it's going in and amongst sort of movie sets as well. And yeah, I can see us sort of going for something similar to it. I mean, we've mentioned before, like in the first video, Top Gear, which suits the race, sort of the car race theme.
So just on the racing theme, this is another ride that that springs to mind, which is similar. You can see that you've got the little racing sort of car trains here. This is the Bolton at Busch Gardens, and it's a really, really interesting ride that combines big drops like this with launch sections and indoor sections, and a bit like 13 at Alton Towers there as a surprise in the show building. And yeah, I think if we're thinking about that racing theme, this sort of ride kind of fits the bill too.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think 13 at Alton Towers is quite a sort of small family thrill coaster. Doesn't use much land or space, so yeah, you can see sort of a similar sort of size roller coaster in that area.
This is a new ride that's planned for Universal Studios Japan, and also Florida when they opened their third theme park there, which is a Mario Kart ride. You're on basically these carts that kind of look like to the naked eye that they're kind of just on like a bit of road, like this is meant to be sort of a go-kart, but actually underneath there's a whole like track, and the ride vehicle is kind of suspended up on it, which basically means that not only can you go through like, you know, standard roller coaster track, but the whole car can sort of tilt. And if you've ever played Mario Kart, you'll know that big part of it is doing these like drifts.
And you can sort of see the cars doing that on this ride, can't you? And I think there's also going to be interactive elements on this ride as well, isn't there? Similar to the game. Yeah,
there's going to be some way of you being able to like throw a shell like Bowser's doing here, or like drop a banana or whatever, so that other players like spin out.
Even though this isn't technically a roller coaster, they've kind of reached their peak in terms of how high and fast they can go. So yeah, I can see a lot of rides heading in this kind of direction, where they're going to be more sort of interactive and like almost giving a different, immersive experience, I would say. So yes, thank you for watching. This brings us to an end to this ride speculation.
Thank you very much for watching. We're going to be linking to the part 1 of this video down below in the description, and also at the end of the video.
Please, as always, like, subscribe, and comment. We'd love to hear from you. Give us your perspective, really, of the concept art and the themed lands that we've talked about. And yeah, we'll be seeing you in the next video.